Welcome to the deep dive. So, you sent over James Clear's Atomic Habits, and we're diving straight in, looking at how you can actually use these ideas, build better habits, maybe break some bad ones.
Right. And see real changes without getting totally swamped by theory.
Exactly. Think of this as like the core stuff, ready to go.
hmm You want those aha moments, right? The click
Yeah.
and practical steps you can take, like today.
Yeah.
So we've got Clear's framework, the science behind it, and how it all, helps make real changes.
And the book kicks off with Clear's own story. It really sets the scene.
It does.
He talks about this really serious injury, sounded awful, struggling to breathe, seizures, even a coma. His face was fractured.
Yeah, it was incredibly severe. And the recovery, well, it was a long haul.
Huh.
He had double vision for weeks, couldn't drive for, I think, 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and physical therapy just to relearn basic movements. But the key thing is that experience, that challenge, that's where he started seeing the power of tiny, small improvements. Not one big fix, but lots of little steps.
And it's amazing how that shaped his whole approach. After like a year where baseball seemed impossible, he starts focusing on these tiny habits, seemingly small things.
And that's what got him back on track, from barely playing to becoming a college athlete.
Yeah.
And that's really the core idea, isn't it? The surprising power of these small changes. Done consistently, they add up. Big time.
Right. He basically says the quality of our lives often just comes down to the quality of our habits.
Exactly. Think about just one small thing you want to improve. What's like one tiny action you could do today? Just 1% better than yesterday.
Okay, let's get into that. The compounding idea. He calls habits the compound interest of self-improvement. That's a powerful metaphor.
It really is. And he breaks it down with that 1% idea. Get 1% better each day.
Doesn't sound like much.
No, not in the moment. But over a year, you're looking
Yeah.
at being like 37 times better.
37 times.
Yeah. But flip side, a 1% decline every day, that takes you almost down to zero.
Oof.
So these tiny shifts, good or bad, they really snowball. And it's not just self-help stuff. Think about learning an instrument.
Yeah, a little practice daily.
It compounds. Or relationships, small kind acts build up.
And we got to remember the negative side too, right? Like small stresses piling up or negative thoughts.
Absolutely. It works both ways. Those little unhealthy habits day after day can lead to big problems down the line.
Yeah.
He also talks about something called the plateau of latent potential. You ever feel like you're trying really hard, but nothing's happening?
Oh, definitely. It's so frustrating. You just want to give up sometimes.
Right. Well, he compares it to heating ice.
Hmm.
You can heat it from, say, 25 degrees up to 31,
Uh-huh.
and visually, nothing. Still ice.
Right?
But that energy, it's being stored, it's just waiting for that tipping point, 32 degrees to melt.
Oh.
It's the same with habits. You put in the work, but the big results often take time. They're latent. People often quit right before the breakthrough.
So the key is patience, trusting the process.
Exactly. Trust that those little daily 1% improvements are building up, even if you can't see it yet.
Okay, so trust the compounding. Got it. But how do we actually make these habits stick? Clear says focus on systems, not goals. Let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah, this is a really important shift. We're always told set goals, smart goals.
Right. Be specific, measurable.
Exactly. But Clear argues, goals give you direction, sure, but it's the systems, the daily processes you follow that actually get you there.
He raises some problems with being too goal-focused. First one, winners and losers can have the same goals. That kind of stops you in your tracks.
It really does. Like, think about sports.
Yeah.
Every team wants to win the championship, right? Same goal,
Yeah.
but only one team wins. What's different? Their systems, their training, their practice, their strategies.
Makes sense. And the second problem, achieving a goal is just like a momentary change.
Precisely. You hit the target, great. But if the underlying system, the habits that got you there or didn't, haven't changed,
You just slide back.
you slide back, think weight loss, you hit the goal weight. But if you go back to your old eating habits, well,
Yeah, been there.
you need to fix the engine, not just, celebrate hitting a certain speed.
He also says focusing only on goals can mess with your happiness. You're always looking ahead, not enjoying the now.
Right. It's about finding satisfaction in the process itself. If your system is, say, writing 500 words a day,
Mm-hmm.
you can feel good just by doing that, by
Yeah.
sticking to the system. You don't have to wait until the book is finished to feel accomplished.
Find joy in this system. I like that. And the last problem, he mentions the yo-yo effect.
Yeah, exactly. You train for a marathon, you run it.
Huh.
Then what?
Stop running.
Often, yeah. The goal was the race, not the habit of running. So the motivation just evaporates afterwards.
So that leads to his big line. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
That's the one. Build sustainable processes. Don't just aim for peaks.
So instead of I want to learn French, it's my system is practicing French for 10 minutes every morning.
Exactly. Focus on the process.
Okay, systems over goals. That makes a lot of sense. Now, Clear adds another layer. Identity. How we see ourselves. This part felt really deep.
It is. This is where it gets really sticky in a good way.
Okay.
He argues that, fundamentally, if a behavior doesn't align with your self-image,
It won't last.
it probably won't. You might want more money, for instance, but if you see yourself as someone who spends everything they get, there's a conflict.
He tells that story about Brian Clark, the guy who bit his nails.
Oh yeah, great example.
He didn't just stop biting, he adopted a new identity. Someone who gets manicures, who takes pride in their hands.
Exactly. So nail biting suddenly felt wrong,
Yeah.
inconsistent with who he now saw himself to be. He didn't just felt the urge, he changed the underlying identity.
And Clear gives a two-step process for this. First,
Yeah.
decide who you want to be.
Right. What kind of person achieves the results you want?
And second, prove it to yourself with small wins.
Yeah, this is crucial. These small actions act like votes, evidence. Every time you make your bed, maybe that's a vote for I am an organized person.
Ah, okay. Like casting a ballot for your desired identity.
Exactly. Every time you go for that walk, it's a vote for I am a healthy person.
Yeah.
You don't need unanimous votes, just a majority.
So the habit isn't just the action, it's embodying the identity.
Precisely. And that's why habits matter so much, he says. Not just for the results they bring, but because they actually change your beliefs about yourself.
Wow, that shifts the focus completely. It's not just about doing stuff, it's about becoming someone.
It's a feedback loop. Your habits shape your identity, and that identity makes sticking to those habits feel more natural.
Okay, this is powerful. So we've got compounding, systems, identity. Now for the nuts and bolts, the 4 laws of behavior change.
Right. This is his practical framework. Super clear. It's cue, craving, response, reward.
That 4-step loop.
Yeah, based on how our brains learn and automate behaviors. Habits are basically mental shortcuts.
And for each law, he gives us strategies. Let's start with law 1. Make it obvious. For good habits.
And the inverse. Make it invisible for bad habits.
He uses some cool examples of how powerful cues are, even unconscious ones.
Yeah, like the paramedic who sensed her father-in-law's heart attack.
Right. Or the military analyst spotting missiles. Their brains picked up tiny cues from experience.
Our brains do that all the time. You sit on the couch, maybe you automatically reach for the remote or your phone. The couch is the cue.
And we often don't even notice these cues anymore, right? The snacks on the counter, the phone by the bed.
They become invisible because they're so normal, which is why awareness is the first step. You can't change what you don't see.
So he suggests that habits scorecard, just listing out your daily habits, good and bad.
And just bringing them into the light, seeing the cues and the responses.
Then he gives us tools like implementation intentions, that formula. I will behavior at time and location.
Sounds simple, but the research shows it's really effective. It makes it concrete. Instead of a vague, I'll meditate more, it's I will meditate for 5 minutes at 7 a.m. in my living room. Preloads the decision.
Removes the ambiguity.
Yeah.
And then habit stacking. After current habit, I will new habit.
Right. You leverage an existing routine. Like, after I pour my morning coffee, I will text one family member.
He mentions the Diderot effect here, too, that weird cascade of buying stuff.
Yeah, how one new thing can trigger a whole chain of behaviors or purchases. Habit stacking uses that idea positively. Link the new habit to an established one.
And the big one for this law, environment design. Making good cues obvious, bad cues invisible.
This is huge. The Schiphol Airport urinal fly sticker, classic example. Tiny change, big impact on, well, aim.
Huh. Right. So practically put your vitamins next to the coffee maker.
Exactly. Or put your guitar stand in the middle of the living room, not hidden in the closet. Make the cue unavoidable.
He mentions one space, one use, too.
Yeah, try not to mix cues. Don't eat on the couch if you also work there and watch TV there. It confuses the brain about what it's supposed to do.
And his point that people with the best self-control often structure their lives so they don't need to use it much.
That's key. They design their environment, they remove temptations, they make the right choice, the easy, obvious choice, It's not about willpower, it's about architecture.
Okay, law 1, make it obvious. Got it. Law 2, make it attractive.
And its opposite, make it unattractive for bad habits.
Yeah.
This is about the craving, the motivation.
Right. He says cravings aren't usually for the habit itself, but the feeling it provides.
Exactly. You don't crave smoking a cigarette, you crave the feeling of relief it brings. You don't crave scrolling Instagram, you crave entertainment or connection.
So how do we make good habits attractive? He talks about reframing that I have to versus I get to.
Simple, but powerful. Changes the feeling. I get to wake up early to work on my project. Feels different from, ugh, have to wake up early.
Yeah, shifts it from burden to opportunity. He also mentions motivation rituals.
Like an athlete's pregame routine. Something that signals to your brain, okay, it's time to focus, and makes the upcoming task feel more appealing.
And temptation bundling. Pairing something you want to do with something you need to do.
Yes, this is a great one. Only listen to your favorite podcast while you're doing chores.
Or only watch Netflix while on the exercise bike.
Exactly. You link the reward of the want activity to the completion of the need activity. Makes the need more attractive.
He also dives into social influence here, how much we're affected by our friends, family, culture.
Hugely. We have this fundamental need to belong, so we tend to imitate the habits of the groups we're part of.
That story about the Turkish friends getting each other into smoking.
Shows how powerful that peer influence is. We adopt habits that earn us approval or help us fit in.
He also mentions Alan Carr's method for quitting smoking, basically making smoking seem deeply unattractive.
Right. Reframing the cues. Instead of seeing a cigarette as relief, see it as poisoning yourself. Make it unattractive.
And we tend to imitate 3 groups, the close, the many, and the powerful.
Yeah. Our family and friends, the close.
Hmm.
The broader culture or tribe, the many.
Mm-hmm.
And people we admire or see as having status, the powerful.
That MIT anecdote, so many astronauts from one robotics class, the environment shaped their norms.
Exactly. So one strategy is to join a culture where your desired behavior is already the normal behavior. Find your tribe.
Like the nerd fitness example, made fitness attractive to a specific group.
Right. Surround yourself with people for whom the habit you want is just what they do.
Okay, law 2, make it attractive. Next, law 3, make it easy.
And make it difficult for bad habits. This is all about reducing friction for the good stuff.
He starts with that photography class story, quantity versus quality.
Yeah, the group graded on quantity, just taking tons of photos, ended up producing better quality photos.
Why?
Because they practiced, they took action, they weren't paralyzed by perfectionism.
Mm.
Habits form through frequency, through repetition, not just time.
Like the London taxi drivers developing larger hippocampi from navigating.
Exactly. The brain physically changes and adapts through repeated action. Doing makes it easier to do again.
So, the law of least effort. We're wired to conserve energy. We drift towards easy.
Totally, it's human nature. So the trick is to make good habits the path of least resistance.
Make them convenient.
Super convenient. And make bad habits inconvenient. Add friction. Want to watch less TV? Unplug it after use. Hide the remote in another room.
He talks about priming the environment, setting things up ahead of time.
Yeah, like laying out your gym clothes the night before.
Yeah.
Or chopping vegetables on Sunday for meals during the week reduces the effort needed in the moment.
Takes away those little decision points that can derail you.
Precisely. Reducing the activation energy.
Then the 2-minute rule. This one seems almost too simple. Start a new habit by doing something that takes less than 2 minutes.
It's about mastering the art of showing up. Make it so easy you can't say no. Read before bed becomes read 1 page.
Do yoga becomes take out my yoga mat.
Exactly. It's a gateway habit. You establish the routine first, then you can build on it. But the crucial part is just starting.
And those decisive moments. Small choices that shape the next chunk of time.
Yeah, like his example of changing into workout clothes right when he gets home. That small, easy action makes actually working out much more likely.
It sets the trajectory. Okay, law 3, make it easy. Last one, law 4, make it satisfying.
And make it unsatisfying for bad habits. This is about the reward, the reinforcement.
He tells the story of the hand-washing campaign in Karachi. It worked because the soap felt good, smelled nice.
Exactly. It provided an immediate, satisfying sensory experience alongside the long-term health benefits. That immediate reward is key.
Because our brains evolved for immediate return, right? But modern life often has delayed rewards for good habits.
That's the mismatch. Exercise is good for you long-term, but maybe feels tiring now. Saving money is good, but spending feels good now. Bad habits often win in the short term.
So we need to find ways to make good habits immediately satisfying.
Yes. Add a little bit of immediate pleasure or reinforcement, and maybe add a little immediate pain or cost to bad habits.
He talks about habit tracking.
Right. Crossing something off a list, putting a check mark on a calendar, moving a paperclip from one jar to another.
That visual progress feels good. Don't break the chain.
It makes the habit obvious. You see the tracker, attractive, you want to keep the streak going, and satisfying. You get a little dopamine hit from marking it complete.
But he warns about Goodhart's law.
Yeah, be careful the metric doesn't become the goal itself, obscuring the real purpose. Don't just chase steps on your Fitbit if it means walking in circles.
Makes sense. And the never miss twice rule. I like that one.
It's forgiving. Okay, you slipped up today, it happens. The key is getting back on track immediately. Don't let one missed day turn into 2, then a week.
Prevents the downward spiral. And for making bad habits unsatisfying. Accountability partners, habit contracts.
Yes. Adding an immediate cost. Tell a friend your goal and have them check in. Or set up a contract, maybe with a financial penalty for failing.
That Brian Harris example, owing his wife and trainer money if he didn't track his food, that's commitment.
It makes the consequence immediate and tangible, which our brains respond to much better than some vague future negative outcome.
Okay, so those are the 4 laws. Obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. But he adds a bit more at the end, right? About aligning habits with who you are.
Yeah, playing to your strengths. Choosing habits that fit your personality and natural inclinations makes them feel less like a struggle. Work hard on things that come easier to you.
And the Goldilocks rule. Keep things challenging, but not too challenging.
Right. Stay in that zone of just manageable difficulty to maintain motivation and achieve that state of flow, like Steve Martin gradually building his comedy act.
Avoiding boredom is key for long-term habits, too.
Absolutely. Once a habit is established, the challenge becomes staying engaged. Variable rewards can sometimes help, but carefully.
And finally, reflection and review. Continuously refining, like Pat Riley's Lakers program.
Yeah, that career best effort idea. Always looking for those tiny 1% improvements. It's not about overnight transformation, but constant, deliberate refinement. Mastery is accumulating thousands of those small wins.
Wow. Okay, that covers a lot, but it feels really practical.
So,
Quick recap. Small habits compound. Focus on systems, not just goals. Identity is key. And then use the 4 laws, make it obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying.
that's pretty much the core of it. You wanted those actionable insights, the stuff you can use. Hopefully, this gives you a solid starting point.
Definitely. So maybe a final thought for you listening. What's just one tiny habit, using that 2-minute rule maybe, or one small environment tweak you could start today?
Yeah.
Think about how that little thing could compound over a year. And maybe which part of your identity do you want to start building evidence for with your habits?
Good questions to ponder. It starts small.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for diving deep with us on Atomic Habits.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.